Today we're going to talk about how to add integers using counters. So in our number routine, it is about alike and different. Write down two ways these numbers are alike and two ways these numbers are different. So let's click on our smiley face. So let me use my text. So alike, what makes these alike? Well, I see whole numbers. I see a 10. I see a negative sign that is being used. Different. Well, let's see. One is an integer, while the other is an absolute value. The first one, this one right here, is the value is negative 10. But what is the absolute value of negative 10? What's the distance of negative 10 from 0 on the number line? How far is negative 10? How many units away? It's 10 units. So they both have different values. So that is our number routine. So let's get to our do now. In our do now, on a map, let me get a pen. On a map, Louisa placed her school at 0, 0. 0, 0. What does that remind you of? 0, 0 is right here. Do you remember what it's called? It is called the origin. So let me get I'll use a highlighter. So she placed the school right here at 0, 0. And her home at negative 3 at the ordered pair, or point, negative 3, 4. Which quadrant is the point representing her home located in? So, first of all, let's find a location. Well, negative 3. Well, we know this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. When we graph ordered pairs, x and then y. So we start with x, negative. Well, that's going to be left. Remember, this is x-axis is like a number line, x number line. Y-axis is the y number line. So in the negative is to the left of 0. 4 for the y-axis is going up. So we know it's going to be somewhere here. Let me get out a pen, a different pen. I kind of forgot how to do which quadrants. Well, I know this is a coordinate plane. Oh, yeah, C for coordinate, it's a quadrant. So this must be quadrant 1. This must be quadrant 2. And this must be quadrant 3, while this must be quadrant 4. So the answer is quadrant 2. Remember, quadrant 2 has negative and positive. The x-axis will be negative. The y-axis will be positive. So, in the study of addition of integers, we're going to be using the yellow to represent positive. The yellow counters represent the positive integers, while the red counters represent the negative integers, and a red counter cancels out a yellow counter to equal 0. That is called zero pair. When you put a negative and a positive together, they cancel out, they neutralize. So for each addition sentence, draw counters to show the addition. Use positive plus for positive integers and negative for negative integers. Then solve the problem. So the first one, I have 7 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to put it together because it's adding means put it together or mix it up with 6 positives. So I'm mixing it up with 6 positive, 4 positives, 5 positive, 6 positive. What happens when I put a negative and a positive together? It zeroes out. It becomes a zero pair. Many ways you can represent it. Some people cross it out. Some people circle it. It's up to you. 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair. So what are we left with? We are left with 1 negative, so the answer is -1. Let's see if we can do this intuitively. If I put 7 negatives with 6 positive, what will you have more of? Of course, you'll have more negatives. By how many more? By 1 negative. Next one. -4 plus -4. Some 6th graders see this like, Mr. Joe, isn't this absolute value? No, remember, absolute value are vertical lines, vertical bars, such as this. This would be absolute value. This is parentheses. You may say, okay, why is it parentheses? Well, because it makes it easier to read. For example, if I have -4 plus -4, can you read this easily? Or is this easier to read? So we put parentheses to make it, so we can distinguish what are the two integers we are putting together. So let's look at the first. So we're putting together, we are putting together 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. We start with 4 negatives. We put it together with 4 more negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we have any 0 pairs? Do we have anything that cancels out, that zeroes out? No. So the answer must be -8. Be careful. Some students will say, yes, they do cancel out. No, you need to have a positive and negative cancel out. So let's see if we do it intuitively. I put 4 negatives with 4 more negatives. Do we have any more positives? Do we have any positive here? No, we're mixing all these negatives together, 8 negatives. Next one, number 3. 1 plus 5 is 6. To represent that, I put one positive, and I put it with 5 more positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's get to the next example. Number 5. I put together 7 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I put it together with 4 negatives. Again, this does not represent absolute value bars, parentheses. It makes it just easier to read. So if I put together 7 positives and 4 negatives, what do you think happens? Do you notice any 0 pairs? I see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what do we have left as our answer? +3. Is it okay to say just 3 instead of +3? Yes, you can say just 3 or instead of +3. Let's do it intuitively, mentally. I have 7 positive, 4 negative. What do I have more of? I have more positive. By how many? By 3 positive. Next one. I have 5 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to mix it with, or put it together, or add it to, with 8 negatives. 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you notice anything do you see any 0 pairs? I do. I see a 0 pair here, 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 and here. What do I have left? 3 negatives. So the answer is -3. Mentally, do I have more positive or more negatives? I have more negatives by 3. Next example, I have 2 negatives. 1, I'm going to 2, and I'm going to mix it up with 9 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to mix it up or put it together with 4 negatives. And if you don't mind, I'm going to still some. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to steal it from here, 4. So you can tell these are 0 pairs, 0 pairs, 0 pairs, 0 pairs, 0 pairs, 0 pair. What do I have left? I have 3 positives as the answer. So the answer is 3 or positive 3. Let's see if I can do it mentally in my head. Could you, using commutative associative property, could you have combined -2 with -4? If I have 2 negatives and I mix it up with 4 more negatives, I have 6 negatives. And I put it together with 9 positive. Do I have more positive? Yes, by 3. Or you could do, I have 2 negatives and I mix it with 9 positive, I have 7 negatives. And I mix it with 4 negatives, I still have a net of 3 positives. Number 8, -1, I'm going to mix it with 6 negatives. And I'm going to mix it up with 8 positives. Let's see if we do this mentally now. If I mix 1 negative with 6 negatives, I will have 7 negatives. And then I'm going to put it together with 8 positives. Will I have more negatives or more positive? More positive by 1. If you do not trust me, we can take out we have 1 negative. We mix it up with 6 negatives. 3, 4, 5, 6. And I mix it up with 8 positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All of these are 0 pair. We are left with positive 1 or 1. Now, number 9. This is where it takes thinking. So, these are absolute value bars. So, what is the absolute value of -3? How far is -3 from 0 on a number line? It is 3. So, let me write that down. So, it is 3. So, 3, I'm going to add it or put it together with -4. So, if I put 3 positives with 4 negatives, what will I have more of? I will have more negatives by 1, -1. Number 10, I mix 3 negatives with 2 negatives with absolute value of -8. Let's start with this last part, absolute value of -8. What is the distance of -8 from 0 on a number line? 8. So I have -3. I mix it together with 2 negatives. And I mix it with 8. So if I could use my counters, or can I do it mentally? If I have 3 negatives and I mix it together with 2 negatives, will anything cancel? Do you see any 0 pairs? Or all that negatives? I have 3 negatives and I mix it with 2 negatives. That is, I see 5 negatives. And I put it together with 8 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All of these are 0 pairs. I should mark them. So I know that those are 0 pairs. These are all 0 pairs. They all cancel out. So we are left with 3, or positive 3. Chip used counters and a mat to keep track of his score in a word game. He got 6 questions correct and 12 questions incorrect. What is Chip's final score? As you can tell, these are like counters. These are all 0 pairs. So, -6. His final score is -6, or he got 6 incorrect. So that is the study of adding integers using counters.